Welcome back to Toast. Today we are in Australia, mates. Now, what I want to talk about is just really my spring break in Australia. As I said in that New Zealand episode, I was in Australia for 6 months, so I have lots of stories. But I think among my best ones, they're all kind of put into this trip. Now, not all of them, but really some of my favorite ones are just going from Brisbane to Cairns. For those of you who know, that's or who don't know rather, that's on the east coast, northeast coast of Australia. Two pretty famous places. That's kind of the area where the Great Barrier Reef is, and some famous things. So stay tuned if you want to know about like what I did and all of this stuff. To start, spring break was an insane experience because we were just a bunch of exchange students in Melbourne at my university. So we all really like booked our tickets more or less together, or at least to land on the same day or one plus or minus one day on either end. So we were really like 18 people traveling together, just a bunch of people from Spain, a bunch of people from France, and me. And at the time, of course, it was 2011, so I didn't speak Spanish. So my only friends were the French people. Though we did get along with the Spanish people, but French and Spanish people both kind of didn't really speak any English. So, needless to say, landing in Brisbane is just an amazing city. Bridges everywhere, all kinds of gardens, and it's like both metropolitan, yet you kind of feel like there's enough like greenery that it's a really cool city. But we're not here to talk about Brisbane, though we did really have an amazing time inside this like shitty bar. I forgot what it was called, like underground bar or trash bar, something like that. It was just this really trashy bar, and all of the exchange students ended up going there. We ended up even seeing a lot more people from our university who ended up doing their own exchange trip, and we ended up being at that hostel at the same time and same bar. It was kind of weird to go from Melbourne to Brisbane and still see the same group of Americans we were trying to avoid. No offense to the Americans that are listening. We generally like Americans, but those guys, those exchange students were like one big clique, and they weren't that cool. Anyways, we set off. We originally wanted to rent like a bunch of campers or some of these like Juicy vans. Juicy is the name of a company that kind of sells these like camper vans. They're also wicked ones. And we just ended up being so many people kind of tagging along that going for like this bus jump on, jump off, like kind of intercity bus route was just like the better way for us to go about planning it when you're 18 people. Anyways, one of the first stops that we went to, I forgot what it was called, like Hector Beach or something like that, Henley Beach. Um, but really, what you do when you go there, aside from break your journey up because Australia's distances are as big as North America's, was Fraser Island, which is just this amazing island. It is massive and it is completely made out of sand. Like the base of the entire island is sand. Now that doesn't mean that there isn't any vegetation. There has been, some like ability for plants and things to grow, but it is entirely a sandy island, so there are no roads. Originally, actually, people didn't want to come with us. They were like, oh, it's too expensive, things like that. But if you know me, at some point you just realize that the money's only an issue in that moment. And after that moment, like once you pay it, you're just so grateful and so happy that you did the experience. So I kind of started like not a petition, but I started kind of boycotting, saying like, look, we're 17 people. We wouldn't be 17 people able to go there anyways unless we had 2 or 3 cars. And so I just really needed to convince like 3 or 4 other people to come with me. So I said, well, fuck it. I'm down. Whoever's down, we just need a few more. And we ended up being, I think, 6 or 7. So it was really cool. We got this massive 4x4 and, big enough to fit 6 or 7 people in it comfortably. And it was just such a cool experience to just like driving on these sandy roads. And essentially what happens when you're driving on sand, even with a really good Jeep, is that you're kind of like counter steering against the way that the sand is moving your tires and the way that you want to go. So you might be like turning this way and you're still going straight, right? Like it looks like you should be going left, or it looks like you should be going right, and sometimes even more so, to the point where it's kind of like upside down, and you're like, how are my wheels sideways and I'm going straight? They advise you against going above certain speed limits. Obviously, there's no cops, and Fraser Island was just amazing. Like we just got to see these amazing crystal clear lakes that are just like, like think of like southern Italy or Croatia or any place that you've been that just the water just blew your mind how crystal clear it was. And it was just like that, but like filtered through sand because the entire island is made out of sand. And you had to like drive through these super narrow passageways and sandy like things. And you're kind of like driving up and down sand dunes and people get stuck and you need to wait for them, maybe help them out. It was a really cool thing. I think the Maling Lake or something is what it was called, the one that everybody goes to. Anyways, we went to Maling Lake. We got to that one. We saw some really cool like hoodoos. If you don't know what hoodoos are, they're kind of natural formations in sand and rock over like years and years of erosion. So there are areas of Fraser Island that are actually like completely solid sand. It's almost like rock because they've just like recoagulated through whatever it is, natural phenomenon. So we got to see these really cool hoodoos, and I think there was a pink lake, if I'm not mistaken. We saw all kinds of stuff on Fraser Island. We saw dingoes. If you don't know what dingoes are, well, a dingo is going to eat your baby, okay? And, some people were telling us about drop bears. We didn't see any drop bears. If you know, you know. No drop bears on Fraser Island, luckily. So at least for those of you who are scared of drop bears, there are none on Fraser Island as far as I can tell. If you don't know what drop bears are, you should probably check them out. They're pretty dangerous things that can come after you in Australia. Now, let's talk about, leaving Fraser Island, beyond all of like the fun that you have driving that 4x4, all good things have to come to an end, as all things do anyways. We move forward, and I think we went directly to Airlie Beach. We may have stopped somewhere in the middle. I think we did a hike somewhere. We saw some crocodiles, actually. Yeah, we stopped somewhere. We did a hike. We saw some crocodiles. It was cool. Steve Irwin wasn't there, so we kept our distance. And then we get to Airlie Beach. And for those of you who don't know what Airlie Beach is a beach that most people just actually use as like a port city to the Whitsunday Islands. Now, the Whitsunday Islands sound as freaking awesome as they are. They're beautiful islands of paradise that are uninhabited in kind of the area of the Great Barrier Reef. And what most people do when they go to Whitsunday Islands, which is also what we did as a group of 18, is they join a tour, or you are the tour when you're 18 people, which kind of goes in like a 3 or 5 or 7 or whatever your budget and time is, day boat cruise or catamaran tour through the islands. Mixes up a lot of like snorkeling, mixes up visiting specific islands, especially what was it called? Whitehaven Beach. Whitehaven Beach is this white beach that everybody goes to. You kind of need a hike up and you get this beautiful overlook of it. And it's kind of this, double reverse parentheses area kind of like beach that just like kind of converges. And so you can have like beach on one side and beach on the other side and you're just there. And it was really cool because you get to see it from this vantage point before you actually, just run down the stairs or path as quickly as you can because you just want to be on and in that beach. It's just beautiful. And I think they originally thought that the beach was made of quartz or something, but then it ended up being made of something a little bit less valuable. Not that quartz is valuable or anything. And it was just really, really cool because it's technically not sand. So the way that it like forms and when you hold it in your hand, like you can actually kind of throw like mud balls at people or something. But we were really cool. Yeah, we were really cool at Whitehaven Beach. We were really lucky at Whitehaven Beach because while we were there were just all of these like, I don't want to call them stingrays. They were types of rays, right? There might be like some sort of manta rays, but they're these small rays that were just chilling in the water, like on the beach, not like on the beach, but like at the beach. And you could just walk really close to them. They wouldn't sting you. They like were a little bit weary of people. Obviously, they don't want to like encounter random objects. But like they would just swim around and it was really cool because we got really cool pictures and like to experience that. I mean, it's very rare. When we ended up leaving Whitehaven Beach, it was really cool because we were just going out kind of close to the next island where we were going to anchor down and spend the night. But while we were going there, as like sunsets, like these amazing dolphins just decided that they were going to start like jumping up next to us. And like any of you guys who've been to the Caribbean have probably seen dolphins before. And like they're such friendly creatures, right? Like they were so curious what's going on the boat. Like they kind of come closer, they'd yell at each other. They go, can't do the dolphin noise. I'm sorry. anyways, it was really, really cool to have like dolphins kind of following our boat, and we were the only boat in sight, so like we knew that they were kind of there for us. They were toying, maybe asking us for fish or something. Who knows? We didn't end up feeding them, and we ended up like drinking, and it was cool because like I think we were a 20-person boat or 22-person boat, so we only had like a few people who weren't part of our gang, but then like they joined our gang like immediately, within a few hours of needing to spend 3 days with each other. You become good friends. So there was this Italian guy, I think there were other French people. I mean, French people are everywhere. Maybe some Germans, who knows. It was just really cool experience, and we kind of jumped around these different islands and snorkeled, and it was just so awesome because like we would party really hard at night, and we'd drink, and like I slept outside on the catamaran, like net and stuff like that. Just took all like my blankets and pillows outside, and just really enjoyed the stars and everything that you get of being just in the middle of nowhere, kind of in the middle of this Great Barrier Reef, which at this point I'm sure what I saw is not seeable anymore. So it's really cool to have been able to experience that, 9 years ago, to be able to say like, hey, like I actually did see, colors and things that I probably can't see anymore. And like, I wish that, the world wasn't coming to this, but it is a reality, and it's just really awe-inspiring when you're able to just see something that is temporary and that is temporary, but doesn't have like a determined expiry date, or at least a calculable one. So it was really cool, and I was really happy and really grateful now to be able to do that at such a young age, and also at such a pivotal time in the history of something like the Great Barrier Reef, which might be a thing of the past by the time I can tell my children about it. So of course, this is not the end of this trip, but this is going to be kind of where I cut off the episode, because there's still quite a bit that happens in, for the rest of this trip. As much as Fraser Island and Whitsunday Island sound really cool, the next episode is actually quite fun, and it just kind of shows how circumstance and a little bit of luck just go such a long way when you're traveling, and maybe when you're a crazy motherfucker like I am. So thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you. I want you to share it if you liked it. If you don't share it, it's okay. I still love you. You're still a cool person because you're listening to my podcast and you're finding value in just hearing about my stories running around the world. So take care, stay safe, and I'll see you next episode. Toast out.